I have just finished a while ago the epilogue of Hammurabi, looking at the grammar inductively. What I'd like to do in this video, and we'll see about future videos, is to take some of the laws and try to work through them inductively and give some of the grammar as we go along. And it might be fun. I'll see how much time I have to compare it with the Hebrew Torah. The thing that I find to be interesting is that Akkadian is very helpful to Hebrew, to providing a background for understanding the Hebrew scriptures. And my main training was in Hebrew and ancient. I did ancient Near Eastern study, but it's basically Hebrew Bible and Hebrew grammar that I taught for many years. And I'm a retired seminary professor. And so I'm just trying to keep my mind active at this point in life. I'm not coming across as an Akkadiologist at all, but something that I enjoy. Like I say, and I said in another video, my doctorate of theology was in biblical studies, and my PhD in pretty much in Hebrew Bible. And I've done a number of grammars in Hebrew Bible along with commentary. So I'm just trying to, you might say, bring back what I learned years ago in graduate school. And feel free to check me out, to correct me. I'm enjoying the process. It's more of a hobby. So I'd like to take Hammurabi and work on Law 4. And one of the books that I would really recommend is A Manual of Akkadian by David Marcus. He works through a number of the laws and does a wonderful job. He was a professor at Columbia, and I really appreciate his work a lot. And of course, Borger, we mentioned that in our short inductive Akkadian grammar that we did in the epilogue of Hammurabi. I would also recommend a concise dictionary of Akkadian, edited by Jeremy Black, Andrew George, and Nicholas Postgate, published by Harrowitz. I find this to be very helpful in terms of really going right to the source in a wonderful dictionary. So I would recommend that. Also, I think by going on Google Books, one can find in a number of places the transliteration of the Akkadian text and of Hammurabi's code. What I'd like to do is pick up and go to the normalization, which I have done, and then work at the grammar in a very slow inductive way. So let me begin. I thought I would start with a short law, Law 4. And if you get online or get the book by Marcus, you can also read the cuneiform because he has it nicely printed there to help in the development of a knowledge of cuneiform. Let me just begin with the vocabulary for Law 4. We have Shuma, which simply means if. Anna means a preposition to or for. Shibutum means a witness. And Sheum means grain. Kaspum means silver. Watsu means to lead out or to bring out. It's a 1W form, and that W often will change then to a U. So we would read it as Watsu, to bring forth or to bring out. And then we have the word arnum, which means grain, arnum. And then shuatu, which means, and here it's shuati, an independent pronoun, and it's used in a demonstrative way. And then nashu, which means to bear. It's interesting, the Hebrew nasha, to bear. But let's go through this just briefly, if anyone would like to follow on the internet and find the basic transliteration. The normalization would be shuma anashibut she'im ukaspim utsiam aran dinim shuati itanashi. So we begin with shuma, if, and all of the laws of Hammurabi will begin with that. It's sort of like if-then type of law. And that's characteristic of all of Hammurabi's laws. If this happens, then this will take place. And so it's interesting, there's no law in Hammurabi like in the Hebrew Bible, where you shall not steal, you shall not commit adultery, and so forth. What we have here are case laws where it begins with if and then is conclude or has a conclusion to it. And all of the laws of Hammurabi are like that. In the Hebrew Bible, you have that, but you also have the laws that are like the Ten Commandments, where it's very straightforward. You shall not have any other gods before you, and so forth. So let me go through then. What I'd like to do is go through each word. We begin with the conjunction shuma. If ana shibut she'um ku babar. If for a witness. And ana is the preposition that takes basically the genitive case here, for a witness. And this word shibut is shibutum, if we were looking up in a dictionary. And what happens, the ending drops off, and we have a noun in construct, shibut, and it's in construct with she'u. It is interesting, in Hebrew, we have the same construction. For example, Ruach Elohim, Spirit of God, in Genesis Bereshit chapter 1. And so for a witness, and in the context of Hammurabi's law, going back to the previous two laws, or three laws, he's talking about false witnesses. So false is not here, but we can put it in parentheses in translation. So if for a witness of grain. So here we have the two nouns in construct, and then we have, I've normalized it, she'im, because it is like Hebrew, the Spirit of God. And it's sort of like the Greek genitive, the book of John, and so forth. And you have two nouns in construct. The second one is genitive. So if for a witness of grain, or a false witness. By the way, notice we have she-u. We have a capital S with a little v at the top and a large letter E. And this is the Sumerian logogram, we would call it, or it is called. And basically, often in writing, in Hammurabi's code and also in a lot of Akkadian texts, the Sumerian would be put in, and then you have to normalize it by putting in the Akkadian along with the what case it's in. And here this is the genitive case, and so it would be she'im, putting it into Akkadian, and she, like I said, in Sumerian means grain. So if for a witness of grain, and that im ending is indicative of a genitive singular. So im is clearly genitive in Akkadian. So if for a witness, false understood, of grain, u, here's the conjunction, u, we could translate it or, and now we have ku babar. What is ku babar? We have a capital K and a capital U and a B, A, B, B, A, R in capital letters. This is another what we call logogram, and it's a composite logogram. This is pointed out very nicely by Marcus on page 28. Actually, you have two signs, and you have ku and you have babar, and they're capital letters, and this actually then means money or silver in Sumerian. To bring it into Akkadian, we have to bring in kaspum, which means silver. I've thought about the Hebrew kesef, but again, a lot of these words in Akkadian you can find interesting cognates with Hebrew. So if for a witness, false understood, of grain, genitive, and then we put kubabar into the Akkadian from kasku or kaspum, we change it to the genitive kaspim because it's in the genitive as well, going with shubat. So if for a witness of grain or of silver, utsiyam. In other words, we're going to have a false witness coming forth. So if for a witness of grain or silver, if he comes forth, we're continuing the law of one coming forth with false claims. So if he comes forth, and notice utsi is a verb, and the root is watsu with a 1W. That changes to a U here, and this is what we call a G, a basic G preterite, has come forth, or looking at a past, and from watsu, and in the G it becomes utsi. And now notice is a ventive, and it means has come forth here with this kind of a false witness. Is ventive, showing action. So if a false witness or a witness of falsehood of grain or of silver has come forth, and is not telling the truth, is the idea, then he will bear the penalty of that case. Now notice the penalty, aran dinum or dinim. Aran is from arnum, which means penalty. And here it's again in the construct state, the penalty of the case. And dinum means case here. So the penalty of that case. And shuati is an independent pronoun. So the penalty of that case. And dinum means case here. Notice again, it's in the genitive with the im ending. Dinum means case or law case. So the penalty of that case. And shuati is an independent pronoun. So the penalty of that case. And it goes with dinim, so it's in the genitive. So the penalty of that case. Notice here, again, as we said, we have two nouns in construct followed by the independent personal pronoun. So the penalty of that case, itanashi, he shall bear. Now here, the root is nashu, meaning to bear. And so the penalty of that case, he shall bear. Let me just say a word here about the grammar. Nashu means to bear. And it's interesting, the Hebrew has the idea of nasa, to bear something, if we're looking at a cognate, kind of a parallel. So the penalty of that case, he shall bear. Now notice, itanashi, nashu is the root, meaning to bear. And here we have an I-T-T-A-N. And that I is showing that we're looking at a third person. And this is what we call a GTN. That prefix, I-T-T-A-N, is looking at what is called a G-T-A-N stem from na-shu. And notice you can see tan there, and then the it prefix, he shall bear. And in Akkadian, grammarians speak of that as a GTN. You have a GT, now here's a GTN. And it is present because we have the doubling of the S here with the dot. In Hebrew, it would have been the sheen. Itanashi, he shall bear himself. And it has a reflexive idea in my understanding. So a GTN present is what we're looking at here. So he shall bear the penalty of that case. In other words, if for a false witness concerning grain or of silver, he comes forth here or comes forward here, looking at again what has been gone on before in Hammurabi's law of people coming forward with false claims. He will come, if he comes forward here and it's false, then the penalty of that case he himself shall bear from na-shu. And it's looking at a reflexive and it's an ongoing idea. He shall bear. It's futuristic here or present. So it's interesting. One bringing a false charge has to bear the penalty of that charge. And we find this throughout much of Hammurabi's code. So let me just stop there. I'm trying to slowly work through this again and some of the smaller, uh, let's say, laws. So if for a false witness of grain or of silver, he comes forth here, and it's false, then the penalty of that case he shall himself bear. So let me just stop there, and if I have, as I have time, I'll try to put up some other laws and work through it. I'm enjoying it to try to bring back what I had studied a number of years back, many years back. I honestly did not teach a lot of Akkadian at all in seminary. The focus was on Hebrew, and so it's good for me to try to reactivate it. But thank you for listening, and I hope this is helpful.